What's happening, guys, and welcome back to another great video on our channel. As you might be aware, through his actions, Putin has just declared war on Ukraine, and now things have quickly escalated to a disastrous level. In this video, we're taking a look at the Russia-Ukraine conflict and trying to explain how it got to this point. Number 6. The Cold War. In order to explain everything that's been going on, we have to take a look at the past and understand what exactly has been happening with Russia and its surroundings. In the previous century, Russia was a part of a large state called the Soviet Union, which was based on socialist ideologies. This state included many countries within it, and one of those was Ukraine, which is an important part to note for later. After the Second World War, the Soviet Union and the United States began indirectly fighting with one another, which has now come to be known as the Cold War. This war is said to have ended when the Soviet Union broke apart in 1991, and ever since then, Russia, which was the biggest part of that union, has wanted to reabsorb some of the territory that it lost. But that isn't the only reason that it's chosen to invade Ukraine recently. So let's look at some of the other causes for this conflict. Number 5. Formation of NATO. The entire world was at a very low point after the end of the Second World War, and alliances were forming everywhere. One of those alliances was called NATO, which comprised a number of nations around the world. Some of those nations included the United States, Canada, and various countries around Europe. This alliance was first formed in 1949, and one of the primary goals of this alliance was to protect one another against any attack from an outside country. One of the outside countries was Russia, or as it was known back then, the Soviet Union. This state had been long against the idea of an alliance and held a lot of fear over the military might that all those nations had accumulated. Number 4. Breakup of Soviet Union. Due to a multitude of reasons, the Soviet Union, aka the USSR, was going through hard times in the 1980s, and some of those reasons had to do with the ones in power. Due to all this turmoil, and due to a new set of rules that had been published by the Soviet Union, the countries that made up the USSR began wanting their own freedom and started protesting and fighting for that right. It didn't take long for all that effort to take effect, and the Soviet Union officially broke into pieces in 1991. This was when things began to get really tense for the countries surrounding Russia. Number 3. Expansion of NATO. Even though NATO was formed all the way back in 1949, it hasn't stopped accepting nations into its fold to this very day. During the same time period as the breakup of the Soviet Union, there were multiple countries that joined NATO. Due to the increasing power of this alliance, Russia started to get concerned about its position in the world. Even though nothing of the sort had happened, Russia felt a bit threatened by this alliance. One of the countries that especially interested and worried Russia was Ukraine due to their shared borders, even though it wasn't a part of NATO at that point, nor is it now. These worries had something to do with the belief held by Putin that Ukraine was a part of Russia in the past, and so it somehow warranted it being a part of Russia again. This led to the first conflict that Ukraine would face from Russia. Number 2. Action taken in 2014. A few years prior to the current conflict, Russia, having the misguided philosophy of Ukraine being part of their territory, decided to attack it. This resulted in Russia annexing Crimea, which was, and still is, considered a part of Ukraine. This all happened back in 2014, and during that time, Russia also supported and backed separatists that had taken control of the eastern part of Ukraine, illegally that is. All this was done to prevent Ukraine from joining NATO and becoming more westernized as time went on. Number 1. Boiling point. The latest event that's taken place due to Putin's misconceived idea about Ukraine is that Russia has decided to conduct a, quote, special military operation in Ukraine. What this means in actuality is that Russia has started to invade Ukraine, and that too from all sides. This was all building up for quite some time, and the boiling point came on the 21st of February 2022. So far, things aren't looking too good for Russia, but who knows where all this fighting will lead to. So these were some of the details about the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Things are still developing and changing as we speak, so there's no telling what this conflict will end up accomplishing. And this officially brings another one of our videos to a close. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell so you don't miss out on future videos going forward. If you appreciated the content, then do let us know by leaving a like, and until next time, take care and goodbye.